Okay, this is the second video for this basic statistics. We're going to look at ungrouped data and group data and focus on the median and the mode of both grouped and ungrouped. Well, here's some ungrouped data. We've got 12 different countries, African countries with 12 different life expectancies. And that's what we worked on last time when I was showing you. We took those countries and we put them into the calculator and we found the mean. We just entered all this. We used our calculator. The calculator added it all up and divided by how many there were, divided by 12, and we got this mean here. We even got something called the standard deviation that the calculator worked out. But how do we do the median? Well, what you have to do is order everything from smallest to largest. So you take these 12 scores and order them from 35 and 35, the smallest scores, up to the largest one, 67. Now, how do we find the median? Well, there's a formula that works for it. We take the number of pieces of data we have, we add 1 and divide by 2, and we get a special number. It's called the position of the median, 6, 5. What does that mean? Well, 6.5 is in between 6 and 7. Well, that means that's where our median is. And all we do is take 41 and 43, add them together, and divide by 2. And that gives us the median. And that's it. And mode for ungrouped data like this is just what happens most often. So here we have it as 35. Okay, now let's look at some group data. Well, we've got all these birds here, and they're being weighed. And there's a whole lot of birds. There's actually 26 birds altogether, but 4 birds weigh between 90 and 100. We don't know how much they weigh, but we know that 4 of them lie in this interval. And 8 birds are between 100 and 110, and so on. 2 birds between 130 and 140. So what we get here is we get intervals, and we get how many pieces of data we've got in each interval. Now there's 2 types of data with this. Some data is called continuous, and this weighing of birds is continuous because it can get to if you have a scale, it can go like 90.37 grams and stuff. You can get all sorts of numbers. It goes continuously from 90 to 100 with weight. But you might have some piece of data where you just have discrete. That means like 91, 92, 90, like that. Well, that's a different story. Now, say you wanted to find the mean. Well, your calculator will do this, and what it does is you find the midpoint. If it's continuous data, just go 90 plus 100, divide by 2. The midpoint's 105. You multiply it by 4, and you get the contribution of these 4 birds. It's like an estimation. Then 100 plus 110 is 105 times 8, and so on, times 7. But your calculator does all of this. If you just put in the data and the frequency, you put in the midpoint and the frequency, and you press this AC, and it works out the mean for you. Okay, but what about the median? Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at the median. Oh, by the way, if it's discrete, that means you don't go to 100, it's just 101. So the midpoint will be 101 plus 110. If it's discrete data, then you get a different midpoint. Okay, well, let's take a look at this thing here. Well, like I said, your calculator will multiply the midpoint by all this frequency and then divide by 26 and give you the mean. It'll even give you the standard deviation. But how do we find the median? Well, what you do is you take the 26, just like we did before, add 1, we get 13.5. But we don't end up with a median as one score. We end up with a median, an interval median, a median interval. And because there's 12, 13.5 must be somewhere in here. There's 12, there's another 7. The median must be somewhere in this interval. And the mode, it's even easier. You just look and say, well, what's got the most? You end up with what we call a modal class. It's between 100 and 110. And that's the story of how to work with the median and mode of group data. There you go. And this is a frequency table here. And you add it all up, and it adds up. That's how many pieces of data you have. That's, you got 26. That's why n is 26. Okay, hope that helps.